to call this meeting of the Tipp City Exempted Village School to order. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Stevens, will you please take attendance?
Mrs. Drum,
Here.
Mr. Maines,
Here.
Mrs. Dillard,
Yes.
Mrs. McMurray,
Yes.
and Mr. Thompson. Here. All present accounted for, we have a quorum and can continue.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Stevens. At this time, I will take a motion for the approval of the agenda.
I'll motion.
Moved by Mr. Thompson.
I'll
Sec-
second.
Seconded by Mr. Maines. Is there any discussion? All right, hearing none, we'll proceed to vote.
Thompson,
Yes.
Maines,
Yes.
Drum,
Yes.
Dillard,
Yes.
McMurray.
Yes.
Motion passes. Agenda is approved. At this time, we'll start with student recognition. Mr. Moran. We'll head up front.
So we'll recognize kids starting with Nevin Kopic, and I'll call your name. You can come up here, get your certificate. Get thanked by the board members, and then you can go over to that backdrop and get your picture taken, and we'll get everybody at a building, picture by building. We got some kids ready to get their certificates, it looks like, huh? All right, so at Nevin Kopic, we have quite a few kids that were recognized for the quality, the character quality of friendliness. So I take it they've been very good and being good friends to their classmates and others possibly. So want to introduce them, recognize them. So we have Calvin Black, Kennedy Crawford, Mallory Elkinger,
Oh.
Kennedy.
Oh, Kennedy, go that way. Picture taken.
Good job, Mallory.
Bradley Huckleberry,
Now can I do a hug? Yes, good job, baby. So
Grayson Kretz,
Hey, Gracie.
Congratulations, big guy. Good job.
Way to go.
Nice job, dude.
and Zendaya Peffley. Zendaya.
Oh,
Oh,
good
Gracie,
job.
Gracie, go over there, get a
So,
picture.
parents, families, you can go over there if you want to get your picture taken. Feel free to get your picture taken or take some pictures over there.
So cute.
Well, good. All
Good
right.
job, guys.
And at Broadway, we want to recognize some third graders from Mrs. Normil's class. They just finished reading Chocolate Touch. They learned about, I guess, the chocolate touch and and they created their own candy bars too. At the end of the book, the students created their own candy bars. Elena created a candy called Sweet Berry. So congratulations to Elena Moffett. And that's the candy bar. Do you think it would taste really good if you could really make it?
Wow, sweet.
That's awesome.
And then Reese Walters
Way to go.
created a candy called Holiday Hots. What is Holiday Hots? Is it spicy? Congratulations.
Congratulations.
I'm gonna fist bump that.
And that's your,
Guys, if you don't want to do shit. Let me see what we got. What we got here. I want to see your.
the Holiday Hots.
Oh, best to go to in town. I like it. I like it.
And then we also have the second and third grader at Broadway who did their readathon. And the largest amount of donations went to Adeline Colbert. And Claire Holzapple that had the most minutes read.
I don't
You
know.
know, that's.
Is that all one book?
No.
Or did you read a bunch of books? A bunch of books.
Just Crime and Punishment. Tolstoy.
I was like, whoa, that was a big book
Yeah.
there. Good job. History.
That's awesome.
All right.
So cute. Good job.
At LT Ball. LT Ball, we want to recognize some kids at the Ohio Art Education Association, recognize their artwork. And Nora Wendell, Figures in Motion, right?
Good job.
What was your artwork in figures? Is it a painting?
It was
Sculptures?
like, we used, like these colored pencil sticks, and they kind of looked like balloon people,
Okay,
and so they were different colors, and they had highlights, so they looked like balloons.
okay, good,
Very cool,
congratulations.
very cool. Congratulations, great.
And then, Laura Toby was jelly printing leaves. You have to tell us about the jelly printing leaves. What were jelly printing leaves?
You like put special paint on it, and then you put leaves down, and then you put
Okay.
paper, and it comes up with a leaf print.
Cool.
Very
Very cool, good work.
Congratulations on the
Well done.
recognition.
Congratulations. Very cute.
And if I mess up your name, feel free to make sure you correct me as well, okay? So at the middle school, we had the Rock Stars of the Week. Last month, we had Gabriel Brazzi, Aiden Coppice, Anna Hook, okay, Eve Clune, Grayson Limbach, Addison Graves, Mason Lopez, Grant Sheldon.
Yes.
It was great.
All right.
Congratulations, great, good job.
And
Good job on your award.
I think it's Nevaeh Withell, is that me? All right, we got one rock star.
Yeah, we
All
did.
right.
At the high school level, we had a group of students who helped out with getting the career fair and speed interviews activity that they had at the high school. How many kids participated in it? A couple hundred?
174,
Yeah.
76, somewhere in there.
Great. And that takes a lot of work with employers and people coming in, so we want to thank those kids who helped out with that. We have Evie Gold. Thanks for helping out. Lauren Ivy. J.C. Lee,
Thank you so much.
Levi McNeil,
We've been finding something in the house.
Sammy Moore, and Emily Richardson. And the red jackets are because you are in
Yeah.
Good job.
Good job.
I'm
Thank
gonna
you.
fist bump it.
high school
There you
group.
go.
And was it last week was FCCLA week? Or-
It was.
It was.
So congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And then we have the Governor's Merit Scholarship recipient, so this is something new, that the top 10 seniors at the end of their junior year are selected as getting a scholarship at, from the state of Ohio. And I think it's, yeah, it's a 5,000 per year renewable 4-year scholarship, so it's a nice scholarship for these students who are looking to further their educational career. So we have Lita Anderson.
Congratulations.
Evan Cheshire.
So awesome. Good job. Good work. Congratulations.
Cameron Davis.
Congratulations.
Great job.
Sebastian Finch. Gracie Ganger. I'm gonna butcher this, I know they told me already. Paravoskoskiv. Say it again, I butchered it again. Paravoshkikov, actually. Sophia, yes, that'll help out. John Phelps, or Alex Phelps. Kara Snipes.
Congratulations.
Sam Van Oss.
You did a good job singing it.
Thank you.
Too. Good job.
And Ellie Wable.
I think I'm going to.
Awesome.
The Bible?
Yeah, it's a good choice.
She just shook her head. That was funny.
Seems so weird. So weird.
So, again, those are our top 10 kids at the end of their junior year. And those are the state requirements on that, so.
Excellent job, guys.
I'm sure they'll be top 10. So families, you're welcome to stay, or if you're looking to enjoy maybe a little bit of sunshine that's out there, feel free to go into the next thing. So thank you for coming.
Are you?
Maybe Dad, I used my screen.
Yeah, you get ice cream.
Oh, you
Oh,
paid
well,
or not? Okay, what's your favorite
We
go-to
probably should go.
treat?
That would be an excellent choice right
What?
now.
Sounds like popsicles on the way home.
Hello, darling, how are you? Good job, guys.
Okay. Okay. Your mom's a rock star too. Oh, we have to wake it up. I'm gonna let you wake it up. Aw, that's a good one.
Oh, no, you don't get me into that. We good, Thomas?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. So next is superintendent goals. Yeah, you wanna go ahead?
Yeah, so really have two main goals that we're working on. One is the facilities. We've got that on the ballot, and that's a big piece of our educational environment for all our kids, grades pre-K through 12. And the other one really has to do with improving academic achievement and working on ways to raise the expectations of our kids, their possibilities, and providing the supports needed for them to achieve. Because our goal is to have them be successful when they leave us, not just to get them out the door with a diploma, but to make sure that they're able to be successful when they leave us. So one of the things that really working with through curriculum and our professional development is really getting kids to be the ones that are doing the thinking, more of the thinking. Get them engaged in the learning process, be involved in those aspects. We have instructional coaches at at the elementary level, with Miss Hake, who's helping out with the phonics and reading piece, which has been a great help, and then Dr. Hellman at the middle school, working with staff, helping them provide the support to increase their engagement in the classroom, which we're seeing some positive results on that. When you look at our Title I numbers of students increasing their achievement there, and I'm looking forward to seeing the results of our state test, which happen pretty much in April for grades 3 through 8 and high school and the course exams. I think I'm anxious to see the results, because I think people have been working hard to make things better for kids, and we're gonna keep working on that trajectory to point in a higher direction. What questions might anybody have for me?
So just a little background knowledge for new board members. At some point, we have to evaluate Mr. Moran and Mr. Stevens on like their goals that they set at the beginning of the year and then how they look moving forward. It's a lot like evaluations for teachers and things like that. So I wanted him to share some things that he's working on now so we have an idea of what we're looking at moving forward. So if you guys have any other questions about anything or ideas or whatever, please don't hesitate to let him know. Okay? Cool?
Okay.
All right, awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. I really appreciate that, Mr. Moran. Okay, at this time, we will move to citizens' comments. I have 3 signed up for this evening. So Mr. David Cobb, you're first.
How long do I have?
Let me see, let me remind myself, 5 minutes? 5 minutes. And then I just wanna make sure, it says so,
I'm representing the Tipp City Lacrosse Club.
okay.
LAX is abbreviation for lacrosse. Sorry
Okay.
about that.
I was just, okay.
Not the Los
Sounds
Angeles
good.
airport.
I was like, wait, what is he talking about? I was so confused for a second, so thank you for clarifying.
And thank you for this opportunity. I'm here really tonight, and I do have some backup. Shannon Paulus is one of our board members, has 2 children in our program. Steve Rithenthal is our head coach for the high school boys. I'm an assistant coach. Steve played and coached at Wittenberg and played club. After the Civil War, I played at Ohio State. At least it seems that long ago, but we both bring a lot of experience, I think, and leadership into the program. So thank you for this opportunity. I'm here really with 2 requests. One kind of simple, it may not seem simple, and the other one a little bit more complex and ongoing, I think. But we've been playing all our games for the last 7 years in Kyle Park. We appreciate the partnership with the city on that, over the years, the rest of Southwest Ohio, which is the area where we play our games, has clearly outgrown us. We've seen the teams, but back 7 years ago, every team we played was a club sport. And over the last 7 years, I think there are only 2 remaining clubs in Southwest Ohio, Tipp City being one, and I believe the other one is Monroe. So everybody has kind of moved on into the school systems. They've developed their programs, have expanded dramatically in terms of membership, middle school, high school, junior varsity teams, etc. We're having a problem because we're playing in Kyle Field, a non-competitive field, of scheduling home games. No one wants to come to Tipp City. So as a result, our kids and our parents are driving from Tonawanda to Westerville, from Lima, all the way down to the Ohio River. So our first request is if sometime in May, if we could schedule 2 games, one for the high school boys and one for the high school girls, which would be their graduation, their last game, on the football field. The football field is not lined for lacrosse. That really shouldn't present a problem. My grandson, who's a graduate of the program, plays at Bowling Green, and they play in the football field up there, and they have some kind of a tape that they put down, they take up after the games. So we don't have those dates yet. We're still kind of rounding out our schedule, but we would be most appreciative if we could play our last 2 games, senior night, on the football field down by the park. Expect if there's a rental fee, we'll pay that. We are self-supporting. We have our own budget. and it's where everybody contributes and we have money in the bank, so to speak. My second request is a little bit more complex, but I would hope that going forward, we could open the conversation to, at some point in time, the Tipp City Lacrosse Club being incorporated into the school system. I mentioned Southwest Ohio, I'm not sure how many teams there are, but there's 35 or 40 or 50 teams, only 2 remaining that are clubs. When I look at Tipp City and look at all these schools on our schedule and all our varsity programs that we have, sports programs that we have in the system, I put Tipp City on the top. But we clearly have been left in the dust. We're just not competitive. As far as our players are concerned, we've been able to pretty much maintain at least half of our players over the years are Tipp kids. But we draw kids from Cedarville, from Brookville, from Springfield, Tecumseh, Troy, West Milton, and whatever. And currently we have, I think, about 16 or 17 boys on the boys varsity team, maybe a few more on the girls. But if and when that happens, and we feel strongly that it needs to happen for the future success, ongoing success of this program, then it would be 100% Tipp City. And that would enable us to get some teachers involved. We can teach teachers to coach lacrosse, but that will get teachers involved. I feel very strongly that we would be no different than these other clubs that have gone into the school systems, that now they have varsity, they have junior varsity teams, they have middle school, they have even elementary school, and they're all students from that school system, and they're flourishing. So those are my 2 requests. I'm happy to answer any questions. One obviously is a lot more complex than the other. Our president, Brandon Osenko, is on TDY right now. He couldn't be here, so I'm kind of pinch hitting for him. But we'd be happy to try to verbalize what I've said tonight, or put my verbal comments in a letter as a formal request if you would like it. But I'm happy to answer any questions. We do start practice tomorrow. We welcome you to stop by and look at our practices. We have a website. We'd love to have you come and watch our games. We're very young this year. We graduated a lot of kids last year, so we're gonna take a couple of them on the chin, I think. But our kids are tough and they're working very hard, and we're very proud of them. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have. Yes, sir.
Mr. Maines, go ahead.
Mr. Maines?
How many different grades are there in the program? I mean, they started.
I think right now, of course, we have the four high school grades for boys and girls, varsities. Have we?
We have junior high kids that are playing up this year for the high school team, and we have a youth team that for boys that we just established.
You can play up, but you can't play down. In other words, if you're an 8th grader and your skills are sufficient, and we can get them in the game, get them some experience, but they do every practice and they grow. When we first started, and we had people that were coaches that were in the school system that had kids that were in elementary school, so we had, a lot of coaches. We had 100 kids in the program. Now maybe we have 50. I'm not sure. But as their kids get older and then they finally leave the program, the coaches or the parents lose interest, and so we don't have kids in the 3rd and 4th and 5th grade right now, which we did when we started. We started out in the middle school, and we had these kids from the 7th and 8th grade, and then we took over the high school program last year after there were some coaching changes made. But you'll see the numbers expand dramatically, and they will be Tipp City kids. And let me stress, we're not interested in pirating baseball players. We don't want to take, if you run the 100-yard dash, you're good in track, we're not after you. We're not a threat to any coaches. There are a lot of kids out there that are doing nothing. And it's an opportunity to learn a new sport, and maybe by the time they graduate, they get a varsity tee. That would be wonderful. That's our goal.
So, Mr. Kopp, I'm actually gonna stop you because we're not actually supposed to super interact with you.
I'm sorry.
No, it's really fine. What I'm gonna suggest though is make sure you do write up a letter for, us to see.
And we'll send it to you.
To send, also, Mr.
Copy.
Moran, and then put, Mr. Kramer on it as well.
Of the athletic director,
So then we
sure.
can kind of figure out where it goes from here, cause we're,
Okay.
this is, we
The
gotta
last-
figure it
the
out,
last-
but thank you for the
and
information.
The last comment is that we have our own budget, and said if and when we come into the school system, we feel it's very important.
Mhm.
I know a lot about budgets. and I know you deal with budgets, and they're obviously of great concern.
Yes.
We would be willing to come in and be self-supporting, raise our own money. It's not cheap to outfit a kid into lacrosse, the pads and all that kind of stuff, but we do it, we raise our own money, we give some scholarships, so we're not a threat to Mr. Kramer's budget.
Okay, awesome,
Thank
thank
you
you,
for
I
this
appreciate it
opportunity.
very, very much, thank you,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Tom. Okay, next is Mr. John Watson. So I have prayer, school board scripture, red tree and facilities is what you're discussing, is that correct? Okay.
Shall we pray? God in heaven, we thank you for your power through us. At this time, we pray for the Scotty Downing family, Joe and his family, Lord. Give them extra strength at this time by Joe losing Scotty and his father. We pray for strength. Be with us this evening. Amen. I go to the school courthouse about once a week. I have for 45 years because I was a realtor, and that's the way we started out, so that's what I still do, that I'm retired. I'm sorry that I wasn't here last month to congratulate you new school board members. Angie and I go way back, probably about 30 years. She taught my daughter swimming lessons. My daughter became a lifeguard and the manager at Troy Country Club swimming pool. I also worked with her father, Lee Goodson, for 30 years. And I don't know, say sad or happy, but he reminded me every day at the time clock to vote no. You ask him. It was just one of the things I had to take. So Cindy, I carried her mail from about the 4th grade through college, I think it was, down on South Hyatt Street. And all the girls and the boy, right? Yeah. And Mr. Thompson, another thing I would say, it's good that all 5 of you I voted for. That's very, very special. Mr. Thompson, I took a chance on you. I didn't know you. There's 2 things in the last month. I'm big on accountability and what I believe, that you all represent all of us. I'm disappointed you hired the other attorney. They charge $200 more an hour than the present 2 attorneys, and they focus on LGBTQ, which I don't think is family oriented. The office wears rainbow t-shirts. They try to hire a percentage of LGBTQ, so I don't think that's in good taste for Tipp City, Ohio schools. The other thing, I noticed up at the courthouse, you have in court, you have a lien on your home for taxes, late taxes, and I don't think it's good that you're not paying your taxes, but
Mr. Watson, we're not gonna do personal attacks, so.
that's not a personal tax, it's
But we
the
don't need to
truth.
discuss that. Okay, I understand that. Can we move on, please? Thank you.
Well, I'll show you in the Ohio code book.
Mr. Watson, let's get back to what we're talking about. So it's supposed to be school board,
He's
scripture.
on the school board.
I understand, but personal attacks will not.
That's not a
be
personal
tolerated.
tax,
Yes.
it's public record.
Cool, then someone else can look it up. We don't need to discuss it here.
Just let it stand, okay? Okay, Mr. Moran, when you came in, you were pushing accountability. But we have a teacher and a aide that admitted to a an affair. And I don't think that's right for public schools.
Again, is this,
What's this mean?
Airing people's dirty laundry doesn't need,
It's school
let's
business.
move on. No, that's personal business.
No, it's not, it's public.
according to our board policy, what you're discussing right now is not within the board policy.
Yes, so please move on, Mr. Watson.
Ever since I've been in the second grade, my teacher was Mrs. Funderburg. She taught us the pledge, she taught us the Lord's Prayer, and it says in the third verse, "Thy will be done." My friend, who's the pastor of Gateway Church of Keller, Texas, which runs 100,000 people per Sunday,
Your time's up. Mrs. Kathy Bone?
Good evening.
What's her topic?
Oh, sorry, bond is what you're discussing,
Yes.
correct, Mrs. Bone? Okay.
Waiting on you to get the time.
Yes, I'm good, we're good.
Okay. I want to make quite clear here that I do believe something needs to be done with the school buildings. Absolutely I do. But I also believe the way to get that done is to be honest and transparent with the taxpayers. I hope everyone takes a moment to really look at the bond issue before they vote. The language is for 8.68 mil levy. No matter what the school says or the committee talks about, that we're not voting on a 6.55 mil levy. I contacted the Miami County Auditor and the Miami County Elections Board and have emails from them saying we are voting on an 8.68 mil levy. The school will try to get you to think it's less because the high school bond may be paid off before they start taking this money, but we are voting on an 8.68 mil levy. Also, something in the ballot language that jumped out at me was where it said below the money that we still owe on all the upgrades, which is over $3 million, that this money from the levy, after paying for a new school and all the other things listed, that we'll be paying for replacing equipment and constructing various permanent improvements district-wide. I'm not sure what exactly that money is. What are we doing with that? We have a continuing permanent improvement levy that was passed. Is it possible that this extra money listed on this ballot is paying for things the state may not pay for? Because I also contacted the OFCC and found out that the $33 million the district says is coming from the OFCC to pay for phase 2 has not been granted. I guess that is why the district wants you to hurry up and vote, so that if this money does not come, it may be covered in this outrageous amount of a tax bond levy. They seem to be covering up those facts. I have yet another email sent to me that the school district did not turn into the OFCC the list of any improvements or work done in the school buildings in the last few years, at least since 2018. When the school district was approached, they said, oops, we'll send something. I wonder what that something was. Was it all the work that had been done on these buildings, or was it just something? How in the world do you forget to send them all the details of these over $5 million in updates when you took the time to make sure that $3 million still owed is in the ballot language? That is not an oops. That was deceit. That means the OFCC did not have truthful data to go on to rate any of these buildings or to end up with a truthful dollar amount. I'll remind the taxpayers that the reason the OFCC backed out of funding the last time the school district approached them was because the school district was not truthful with them or the taxpayers. I have a copy of that letter I will share with anyone. We need to demand that this school district be honest with the taxpayers. We need to demand that they be honest with OFCC. This school district is not being transparent and not being honest with the community. A no vote will send a message that we want transparency and honesty. I hope everyone out there in this community is paying attention to the facts, not the rumors, not the opinions, the facts and votes no on this outrageous bond levy. Thank you.
Okay, next up is committee reports. Miami Valley CTC meeting minutes, Mr. Maines.
Yes, you received all the minutes, but there's a few things that I thought were, that I'd like to bring up in those minutes, some of the more important parts as far as what I was concerned. But one of the things we did, and I believe we may be having the same situation with our school board, and that's why I highlighted it, is that it was approved in accordance with section 3313.26 of the Ohio Revised Code, that the reading of the board proceedings would be waived since they're distributed to the board members in advance of the regular meeting. So that was, I believe, going to come up in our session also. The other thing that we did, we had 4 different dues that we approved. One was the OSBA annual membership dues, and it was approved at a cost of $4,967. Our OSBA Legal Assistance Fund was approved, and it was in the amount of $250. The Ohio Association of Career and Technical Education was approved in the amount of $10,500, and our Ohio Education Policy Institute was approved with an annual cost of $1,000. Those were the most important topics that were in our session the last time. We also approved an advanced draw on taxes, which is a pretty common phenomena for most all the school districts. We approved the treasurer to be authorized in accordance with section 321.34 of the Ohio Revised Code to seek advance payments of collected taxes as deemed advisable, and the treasurer is authorized to sign those necessary documents. One of the other things that I highlighted was that we had several of our committees approved. One was the Financial Audit Committee, and it was approved with our board president, vice president, and 3 members at large, including myself. So I'm on the audit committee there. As far as some other updates with outside of the minutes there, the applications for the class of 2026 keep rolling in, and as of today, we've received 1,654 applications. And to compare that, the same time last year, there were 1,322, so that's an increase of 332 applications. Another thing I would bring up is that the National Technical Honor Society was had a tapping ceremony this past, it was on February 14th, which is a Tuesday, for the seniors who have met stringent requirements for the National Technical Honor Society. And the official induction ceremony will be held Sunday, March 24th at the MAC over at the center. And I'm proud to announce that we have 3 of our Tipp City students that I'm very proud of who were tapped for the National Technical Honor Society. That was Joshua Beeson, Samuel Brooks, and Kaylin Rohr. And I know we'll be honoring them at our upcoming work-study session. So I was very pleased and proud that Tipp City was represented with the National Technical Honor Society. That's my report.
Awesome, thank you, Mr. Maines. Is there any other committee reports? Yeah, go for it.
So, the Parks Board did not meet this past month, they meet every other month. And Tipp Monroe Community Services was supposed to have met this past Thursday, but they didn't have a quorum. But I had a meeting with Kathy Taylor, and she went over all the programs with me. And I was just so impressed with all the things that our Tipp Monroe Community Services do. They have programs as well as services for our community, and many of those are linked to our schools. So their programs are educational, recreational, special events, and cultural. And their services are community relief, summer lunch, holiday giving, eyeglasses for children, dental work for children as well, instrument loan for children, and registration assistance for their programs. They have a huge summer camp program. And they just most recently They sponsor Camp Kern because it's no longer through the schools, and that's a huge partnership with our schools, as well as the summer lunch program. The purse auction is coming up. That's their main focus right now. It's their huge fundraiser. Last summer, they served over 6,000 meals. And that's for anyone in the community, not just children, but families. And there's a great need for that to continue. They also provide some weekend food bags for a number of families, and it's very discreet. So I was just really impressed by all the programs that our Monroe Community Services provide in partnership with the schools, and they are constantly on the lookout and trying to find other ways that they can help. So I'm very honored to serve, and not as a board member, but as just as in attendance to be abreast of everything that's going on.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Thank you. And then I wasn't at the team meeting, so Mr. Moran, is there anything?
I was out as well.
Okay. Lisa, is there, okay. Just Teacher of the Year will be coming up in the future, so parents be watching for that. Okay. Next, Treasurer's Report. Mr. Stevens, monthly financial report.
All right. Give me one moment, I'm in the wrong spot.
You all right?
All right, attached, you have, I was able to finalize the December financial report last month. If you recall, I said that I was not able to get that done. I was dealing with some audit issues for the 2023 audit that needed to be taken care of. We've got those all figured out, so December is now closed, or has been reconciled. We've also reconciled January. But I don't know if anybody has any questions on those. The documents attached include the reconciliation sheets, it includes the investment reports, and then also we have our cash balance reports. Just one thing to point out, on the January investment report, there is an investment there for, it's the Fifth Third Securities. We have a CD with Morgan Stanley Bank. That CD matured, and we rolled it over into a new CD. So that will be different on the February report. You'll see something new there. So that security was held through maturity when we got it back and reinvested it somewhere else. The big thing that I wanted to speak on is the third attachment. It is a budget versus actual report for January. I just wanted to point this out. It's got a lot of numbers on there. Basically, the first column starts out with the November 5-year forecast for the general and the 016 fund. And I've tried to show what has happened to that budget since November. The only things that we've really added to it, we've had our foundation revenue, the money that comes from the state. The reports that we're receiving from the state show we're actually trending higher based on the student enrollment and the services that those students need. The funding that's coming in is a little higher than what we had originally put on the forecast, so the number is higher to match that. You can see that we're currently at about, so the unrestricted grants and aid went up, some restricted grants and aid went down. That's all foundation formula driven, and so that's about a net increase of about $117,000. On the expenditure side, I'm trying to show the forecast, and then I'm also adding in outstanding encumbrances from the last year. So if you look at the forecast last year, it ended showing that we had about $500,000 in outstanding encumbrances for 2023. One of the things that I did in November was a lot of that was for, there was a boiler and some roofing improvements that hadn't been paid for quite yet. And so that was an outstanding PO. I showed that as an actual expense on the forecast. I didn't keep it in as just an outstanding encumbrance. We needed to show that we're spending that in this fiscal year. What I didn't do was, you'll see in the second column, there's about $197,000 there of additional outstanding encumbrances. And I'm showing that there's a potential of us spending what's on the November forecast plus those prior year outstanding encumbrances. But what you will see on the forecast is there is, for the fiscal year 24, $200,000 of expected outstanding encumbrances carried over into next year, so it's kind of like this cycle that just repeats itself. But I wanted to show the board what we could potentially spend this year, what's currently budgeted. The third column shows the changes to appropriations that we've made this year. A lot of these are just intra-fund transfers from 400 object codes to 600, so we spend money on salaries, benefits, purchase services, supplies, capital assets, and other. And so most of that has just been movement between the different funds. We weren't changing the budget. However, we have had 2 increases. One was approved by the board for the higher increase in liability insurance costs. We've had some issues with our insurance claims in the past couple of years, and so the costs were higher this year. And then we've also had a settlement that we had to pay out that we booked at our last appropriations. So we've really only increased appropriations a net of $58,000, $58,806 since the start of the year. So I wanted to show the board everything that's happened to the budget so far this year, and luckily it hasn't been a lot. And then I also wanted to show the budget versus actual. So there's a column that says these are our actual revenues and expenses as of January 31st for the general fund and the 016 fund. The 016 fund is the emergency levy fund that we have. It all counts as general fund. And I compared these numbers with the length of time that the school has been in session. We're currently, at the end of January, that's 7 months out of operation for the 12-month cycle. So 7 months out of 12 is 58.3%. So if you're looking down, most of our stuff is it's monthly, we're paying monthly. So if we can see, if we're about 58.3%, we're pretty much on task. Except payroll's a little different. For our salaries, we have 26 pays in a calendar year because we pay every Friday, or every other Friday, bi-weekly. So you end up with 10 months that have 2 pay periods, and 2 months have 3 pay periods. So I base that off of how many pay periods have been completed. So right now we've completed 15 out of 26 pays. But if you go down and look through these numbers, you'll see there's a column there that says percent of budget actually received and expended. And you can see the numbers that are there. Right off on general property taxes, you can see that we're at 53%, and you think, oh, that's not 58%, 58.3%. When you go back and look at the history, at this time, we're still waiting for the second half of property taxes to come in, and it usually trends higher than what we've received in the first half of the year. So I am not worried at all. In fact, I think that we should reach our budget, if not exceed that budget. So the 53 is not concerning because we will receive more tax money. The public utility personal property tax, exact same thing. We're still waiting on the second half of taxes, and it trends higher. We should hit the budget, maybe be $1,000 or $2 less than that, but according to previous trends, this will be higher than what we received in the prior month, or prior year. So you can see, right now we've received $315,000. We're waiting for $324,000. That's pretty much what happens every year. Unrestricted grants and aid, 58%. I mean, we're right at that, 58.3, 58%. We're right there. I have no issues with what's coming in. We're going off, but there's not very much that makes that up. It's homestead and rollback money, and the foundation money that comes in through there. For the restricted grants and aid, that number looks a lot smaller, 43.6%, but that one does have a timing issue. In June, we receive a refund from the Ohio Department of Education for catastrophic aid. These are students that we have in the district that are special needs that cost more than anticipated because of their condition. Maybe there's more services that they're receiving for occupational therapy, physical therapy, maybe they're at a behavioral unit for the ESC. Those students we can submit for reimbursement from the state. They do this for all the school districts. They set aside money. There's a pot of money that gets set aside, and then all the schools submit for reimbursement for those kids that cost more than what we received in funding for those special needs. So last year, that payment we received was $185,000. And so if you take that $185,000 out of this budget, or out of this calculation, we're right where we need to be. And so in June, we'll see that large payment come in. And then I have no issues in other revenues. On the expenditure side, you can see that I've got those percentages there. Salaries trending at 56%, so it's a little less than the 57.7. That's a good thing. We do have some teachers that are out on long-term leave of absences. We're using subs, so that could be what's helping to account for the cost being a little lower than where we expected. And then this is the good one. Employee benefits, right on target there. Purchase services and supplies and materials are trending below the budget, and this is great. We'll continue to watch these. And then capital outlay does appear like it's higher, but the capital outlay is what I mentioned earlier with the building roof and the boiler. We spent $318,000 in the first 3 months of the fiscal year. If you take those out, we're really only at 21%. So that's way under. We also booked we also set aside, I think, $100,000 for if anything were to come up catastrophic in the building somewhere, we could cover that. So hopefully, knock on that wood.
I know, I just did it.
Yeah. And then the last column, or the last line, other, we're currently trending at 66.3. This is higher, but that line item includes the transfer of $1 million out to the self-insurance fund that we've been talking about. If you take that out, we're currently at 53% in expenditures. So we're right where we are according to the budget that we have. I know that Mr. Moran has talked about potential budget corrections that we're going to need to make in the future. We'll talk about that in a minute under my treasurer's goals, but for now, we're following the budget based on what we have, and so hopefully, if you have any questions on this, give me a call, we can discuss it further, but I think we're where we need to be at this time. Any questions?
Yeah, any questions? Numbers guy? Good, okay.
I looked at it.
All right.
I pulled my books out. Read the columns.
Right. All right, next is fiscal year 24 appropriation amendments. Mr. Stevens?
I need a motion.
Oh, shoot, sorry, I just realized it needed a motion, my bad. Can I get a motion for the approval of the fiscal year 24 appropriation amendments?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Maines,
I'll second.
seconded by Mrs. McMurray.
I have attached the appropriation adjustments for the month of February. Most of these are because we've received grants. We had some budgets that have been updated for class activities, for the student government and the Model UN budgets. They submitted some changes for their budgets. And then we've got some sports budgets where they've had fundraisers and they need approval to spend more of that, the money that they've raised. And then we also received an AG school law enforcement grant and an Ohio school safety grant. That was through Aaron and Lisa, I believe, applied for those. And so we just need to book those. Some things of note, again, I mentioned the settlement. I said it was approved in January, and it's on this one for approval. So this was part of our other, part of the increase that we had earlier for the insurance bill. This is the other part. We had a settlement, an out-of-court settlement that we have to book and expense. This is part of the agreement, part of the settlement agreement. So to put that in there. That's all I have. Any questions on these?
What is the special trust?
That's part of the settlement. We have to put that money into a special trust, which is an 007 fund, and it can only be used for special purposes that have been set up for the settlement.
Hearing no more discussion, we'll go ahead and vote.
Maines,
Yes.
McMurray,
Yes.
Drum,
Yes.
Dillard,
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
Motion passes. Next, Mr. Stevens, treasurer's goals?
Okay. Like Mr. Moran said, one of the goals that we have is the facilities, and working on trying to see if we can get a bond passed to work with OFCC to build this new facilities for the district. You know, my involvement as the treasurer is getting the information for the vote, and then going and selling the bonds. So right now, we're on the ballot, so part one is done. Part two is then selling the bonds if the ballot issue were to pass. And if we sell the bonds, then part three is building the project, and then I get to track all the expenses for that. So that's a lengthy goal. It'll take about 4 years if the bond passes. But so that's my first goal is dealing with that issue. And these are in no particular order, by the way. I only said that first because that's what Mr. Moran had said. Some other things that we're gonna have to focus on, or I'm gonna have to focus on later this year, we will be going into negotiations with the teachers union. And usually we do 3-year contracts with that, but it could be 1 year, it could be 2 year. I don't know what it will be, but my goal is to have the financials ready and to try to be able to provide accurate documentation for both groups, not just the administration and the board, but also for the teachers as well, to try to make sure that everyone is dealt with fairly. That's something that I try to do when I go into negotiations. Next would be balancing the budget. We did have a November 5-year forecast that showed that the district is currently not receiving as much as it's spending. Mr. Moran and I have sat down and we've spoken on some things that we need to try to look into to help balance the budget. And so there'll be more information on that coming out later, but that's something that's on the radar. And there will be an update to the 5-year forecast in May. And I'm not sure if, I'm hoping that those changes will be on that May adjustment, or that May amended 5-year forecast. And a couple other things, the self-insurance fund, we know that we advanced money into that to cover a negative balance. I need to work on that to try to figure out ideas on what we can do to bring that back into the positive, because right now the general fund has advanced that funding, and we knew that when we first went into this UMR, USI self-insurance fund plan back in, I think it was 2018 or 2019, I can't remember now. One of the things that I had advised the board of is if this does go into the negative, general fund would have to help cover that. And then I left and it went into the negative. So now we're gonna have to try to figure out what we can do for that. That's a goal, is to try to figure that out. I mentioned earlier the 2023 audit issues. We did have some overpayments paid out for some severance payments when some employees left last year in 2023, and I've been working on, with my payroll manager and with the auditors, working on getting that repaid. And so far everybody has been understanding and has been willing to work with us to try to return overpayment of funds. We're not talking huge amounts, but anything is an unfortunate mistake. So we're trying to correct those. And then the last goal I have is I need to renew my license. It's up this June, so yeah. So that I'm working with the LPDC and putting my stuff online, and so I've still got some classes to go, but we'll get that done so that I'm legit in July 1st. So that's my goals. Any questions from the board?
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Awesome. Thank you, Mr. Stevens. Okay. Next is a discussion on banking and investment management discussion.
Still me.
Still you, Dave.
Okay.
Okay.
I just wanted to update the board and discuss. So last month, or at the last meeting, I had spoken on the need for us to look for a new depository account for our daily deposits made by the buildings for cafeteria, athletics, and the building secretaries for fees and things that are paid in, because the local branch of Park National Bank is shutting down in March. I'm still planning on using Park National Bank currently for our checking accounts, just because they still have a local presence in Miami County. They're in Troy and Piqua. They're not getting the foot traffic. Most people are doing online banking now, so which is what I'm going to be doing. But I did go out. I did reach out to banks in this area. I had 3 that spoke with me. I have Fifth Third, Monroe Federal, and Greenville Federal. They responded to me and provided me information on accounts that they could provide to us. All 3 of them would love to have us as depositories, but I think that the one that provided the most for us at the lowest amount of cost was Monroe Federal. They have 2 locations in this area. They can provide an interest-bearing savings account that can be used as a checking. It's a nonprofit business checking account. It earns interest on anything over $250. In the month of January, we deposited $100,000 in cash into that account. I'm not planning on leaving the money in that bank very long. We'll move it over to Star Ohio or a money market account, Park National Bank. There should be no problem moving money back and forth between the accounts. It has unlimited transactions. The other accounts at Fifth Third and I think that Greenville Federal was also unlimited, but the minimum balance requirement, Monroe Federal was only $250 to have it in that account. For an interest-bearing account at Greenville Federal, it was $1,500, and if it ever went below $1,500, there would be a $10 monthly fee. At Monroe Federal, it's $8 if it goes below $250. And the average balance at Fifth Third Bank, it would have to be $50,000 so that you would not have to pay the $50 fee. The other thing though is we deposit a lot of cash. A lot of our deposits are checked, but we still do cash. We deal with cash, and there was no fee for cash deposits at Monroe Federal. Fifth Third Bank said you could deposit up to $25,000 in cash before they started charging fees, because their tellers have to count all that money. And so there's time that goes into that. So in the end, I felt that I was very appreciative of all 3 of the banks reaching out and providing information to me, but I believe that Monroe Federal would provide the best deal for us. My goal would then be for later in the board meeting for the board to approve authorizing me as the treasurer to open a new depository or checking account at Monroe Federal. There is a motion further on that says to be determined right now, but I'd like to name that with Monroe Federal. However, I'm just making a recommendation to the board. If there's somebody that has an issue that we need to be aware of with Monroe Federal and feels like we should try another bank, I'm all ears and open to hear any of that. Okay. The next thing I wanted to talk about is the investment manager discussion. I am a school district treasurer. While I have a degree in finance and accounting, I am not an investment manager. And I have, over the 9 years I've been a school district treasurer, I can recognize when there's something that I'm not an expert in, and that is having the time and expertise of investing school district monies. I am coming to the district tonight, to the board, to ask about hiring an investment firm to deal with our funds that we have available for investing. Right now, we have been I think since 2013, we've been investing money with Fifth Third Securities. That was brought on by, I believe, the treasurer Gina Helmick when she came on in the district. She went to Fifth Third Securities. Right now, we currently have about $900,000 sitting in that investment account, and we've just been rolling over into CDs. They are not an investment manager. They just hold the investments for us. The overall decision is for myself. They have an advisor who will say, hey, I've got this product available that would fit in with your ladder tier, maturing, and then 3 years out or 4 years out, they'll fill those. But I'm the one that has to make the decision on what to buy. While that's great and all, I feel that there is so much going on in investing today that it would be very good to solicit the services of a true investment funds manager, especially one that works with schools. I'm recommending a company called Red Tree Investments Group. I have seen Red Tree at every OASBO conference, every OSBA conference, and most of the times I have treasurers going, oh, we need to go talk to them, they're my favorite, because they do business with them. When I was at Milton, we did not have an investment manager there as well. They had many more investments that had been set up by the previous treasurer, and I felt that taking them to Red Tree would have been good, but I didn't stay there long enough to do that. However, here, I told Aaron about my idea of going to Red Tree, and he said that they use that in Versailles. I believe he said his experience with them was positive. I don't want to put words in his mouth. Okay, shook his head yes.
He's shaking his head.
Okay, so I spoke with the representative from Red Tree. So basically, my biggest concern was the fee, what it would cost if we invested with Red Tree. And they provided documentation that shows that their fee would be 1 basis point of the portfolio that they manage. So to put it in perspective, $1 million of a portfolio would cost $1,000 a year for the investment. And so I think their ability to, they have the ability as the investment manager to move funds on our behalf and to put it where they believe it would be best. They would still have to follow our investment policy. They cannot invest in things that we aren't able to invest in. They have to do what we are allowed to do per Ohio Revised Code. They will have our cash policy as well to ship, and they'll know what we are allowed to do, and they will have to stick by those guidelines. They would then manage the investment fund. Right now, I'm just planning on moving over the amount that we currently have in Fifth Third Securities, so they would just take over what we currently have. I know one of those securities is not, it was one that was purchased during the COVID time, and so the interest rate is well below 1%. It's not something we really want to be holding on to, but if we try to sell it, it's going to be at a loss. And so I'm not an expert on selling something for a loss and hoping to try to regain money in time by holding something else, by buying something else instead. I mean, I could figure that out, but who has the time for that with everything else that we're doing? Red Tree does. Red Tree could sell off that investment and make sure that we're turning a profit on that, even though we've swapped that out. Yes, Kyle?
Are they set up as a brokerage or is it like a fiduciary?
So they operate with a U.S. bank account. So if we were to go with Red Tree Investments, all the funds would be held at U.S. Bank. And I'm not sure.
You can get back to me on that.
Yeah,
Just
I can get back
curious
to you on
about-
that.
Yeah, that's fine.
But they have the ability to, I'm not gonna say anything. I could be wrong.
Okay.
Sure.
Write that down. I'm actually excited if they were to take over. They do a lot of trainings, not to try to get customers. Their trainings involve what's going on in the economy, what's happening out there with investments, and what to look for and things like that. So they know what they're doing. But again, their fee is 1 basis point, so $1 million of an investment. If I give them $900,000, it's going to be $900 for the year. I would think that they could make more money than $900 easy than what I could make if I invested it. The other thing is that we also have Star Ohio, and I'm sure that if I say Star Ohio is the place to put it, let's put it there, because right now that is offering the highest investment rate in insurance. But anyway, that's all I have on Red Tree. That is another recommendation from me further down for the board to vote on. If we do, great. If we don't, it is what it is. But if we do go with Red Tree, we would also need to open a U.S. bank account. So just like the recommendation to open a Monroe federal account, we would do the same, authorizing me to open an account to use at U.S. Bank through Red Tree Group.
Mr. Stevens, question, how soon does that have to be decided with the Red Tree investment?
Oh, that could be decided at any time.
Okay.
Yeah, there's no deadline on that.
Deadline
It's
on
just
it.
leaving money in the account at
Okay.
Fifth Third until we make that decision.
Okay.
So could we maybe get them to come in, one of their representatives, and
Sure.
talk to us about it? That'd be great.
Okay, so
Yeah.
we'll just table that.
That'd
when
be
we get
great.
to it.
Mhm.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, that's all I have for that. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Stevens. Okay, next is approval to authorize the treasurer to open a bank account with Monroe Federal for the district's banking needs, and authorize the treasurer, Dave Stevens, and the accounts receivable clerk, Amy Igenet, to be official signers on the account. Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Mr. Maines, is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Thompson? Is there any discussion? All right, hearing none, we'll go and vote.
Maines,
Yes.
Thompson,
Yes.
Drum,
Yes.
Dillard,
Yes.
McMurray.
Yes.
All right, motion passes. All right, next is the approval to, I need a motion to approve, wait,
We're
just
gonna
kidding.
table this one.
Ooh, yes, wait,
Yep, all three,
Next
the next three would be tabled.
okay,
Mhm.
okay. Well, I need to table them each individually, right?
Mhm.
Unless we do a motion, yeah, unless we do an amendment to the motions. Okay, all right, so, hold on a second.
And we just need a
Let
motion.
me think this out.
If we just do a motion to table items F, G, and H.
Yeah, okay. I would like to, I need a motion to table, F, what did you say, F, G, and
Mhm.
H, F, G, and H, for our next board meeting?
Regular board meeting?
Or do you want it at work session?
We
Which
could
would
have
be
them
better for
come
you?
in at the work session and
That'd be great.
present, and then we can
And then we can
vote.
move it, okay,
Yeah.
so let's do that. Okay, so, I need a motion to approve the tabling of, closing a Fifth Third Securities investment account, investment management agreement with Red Tree, and then new US Bank custody account.
I move that we table items F, G, and H
Thank you.
for the next regular board meeting.
Okay, for the next board meeting.
I second.
Okay. And then seconded by Mrs. McMurray. Dave, you got it all?
Yep,
Okay,
ready for a vote?
yes, sir.
Dillard,
Yes?
McMurray,
Yes.
Drums,
Yes,
Drum, one, no S.
you're fine.
Maines,
Yes.
S. Thompson.
Yes.
All right, motion passes. Give me 1 second, guys, I wanna write it all down so I don't forget. Okay.
I'm sorry you had to put up for me for so long.
Oh, stop. You did a great job. I'm very excited about opportunities that make our district money. All right, at this time, I need a motion to, adjourn to executive session for the purpose authorized under Board of Policy 0166 and ORC 121.22 G1, to consider the dismissal of a public employee or official.
Got motion.
Motion by Mr. Thompson,
I'll second.
seconded by Mrs. Dillard. Any discussion? Alright, we'll proceed to vote.
Thompson,
Yes.
Dillard,
Yes.
Drum,
Yes,
Maines,
Yes.
McMurray.
Yes.
motion passes. The time is now 7:15 and we're heading into executive session. Okay, the time is now 8:11 and we're back from executive session. Next item of business is gonna be our consent agenda. I'll take a I'll take a moment at this time, a motion at this time for the approval of the consent agenda items.
I'll move that we approve the consent agenda items.
Okay, moved by Mr. Maines,
Second.
second by Mr. Thompson. Okay, and there is no discussion necessary on consent agenda items.
Could you please give me one moment?
Absolutely.
I have some regular session items that were listed as consent, and so
Oh.
if we hit yes on this, they will all have their votes, and that's not correct. So
Okay,
just give me one moment, please.
well, actually, I was gonna make mention though of what Mr. Maines mentioned earlier, guys. And
Mhm.
his, Miami Valley CTC minutes is actually the resolution under meeting minutes. Just so you guys know, it's the same thing that he
Yep.
mentioned.
Sorry, I was giving Cindy tech support.
Oh, no, you're fine.
With an issue.
Believe me,
I don't
tech
need
support
tech
is needed sometimes. You never know what the computers are going to do.
Right.
I believe that that is now correct. If you would all just hit refresh on your computers. Awesome. We are now only affecting consent agenda items.
Okay, fantastic. I'm almost there. Okay, yes, so we're ready for, the vote whenever you're ready, Mr. Stevens.
Maines,
Yes.
Thompson,
Yes.
Drum,
Yes.
Dillard,
Yes.
McMurray.
Yes.
Under new business, I need a motion to approve the minutes from the January 16th regular meeting.
I'll motion to approve the minutes from the January 16th regular board meeting.
Okay, Mrs. McMurray, is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mrs. Dillard. Is there any discussion on the meeting minutes? All right, hearing none, we'll proceed to vote.
McMurray,
Yes.
Dillard,
Yes.
Drum,
Yes,
Maines,
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
motion passes, meeting minutes are approved. Next, I need a motion to approve the minutes from February 6th, the work session meeting,
All motion.
moved by Mr. Thompson,
I'll second.
seconded by Mr. Maines. Is there any discussion on the meeting minutes from February 6th, the work session? All right, hearing none, we'll proceed to vote.
Thompson,
Yes.
Maines,
Yes.
Drum,
Yes,
Dillard,
Yes.
McMurray.
Yes.
motion passes. Okay, next. Next we will, okay, hold on. Is this
This is the tax incentive review
Yes.
council, so this is all the, different incentives that the district may be part of in regards to, abatements or CRAs, TIFs. So they need a representative from the board to be part of this. They review all these annually.
Okay, so the Tax Incentive Review Council meeting is on March 14th, 2024 at 4:15 at the Government Center. And then I'll check the
What was that
calendar.
date, Amber? I apologize.
March 14th at 4:15 PM.
What day of the week is that?
It's a Thursday.
Oh, good, look at, he is on it. Let's see.
I can do it if,
I cannot.
Well, then I motion to nominate Cindy.
I'll second that motion.
Fantastic, it looks like Cindy has volunteered and a motion has been made. Motioned by myself and seconded by Mrs. McMurray. that Cindy Dillard will be our representative at the Tax Incentive Review Council on March 14th at 4:15 p.m. Can we have a vote, Mr. Steven?
That was Drum as a first and McMurray as a second?
Yes.
Thank you. Drum,
Yes.
McMurray,
Yes.
Dillard,
Yes.
Maines,
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you, Cindy, for volunteering for that. That motion passes.
Welcome.
Okay, next is 2023-2024 calendar revisions. A motion for approval to accept the revisions of the 23-24 school calendar. The revision to the school calendar is to add April 8th of 2024 as a district-wide calamity day for staff and students.
I'll motion.
Motion by Mrs. McMurray,
I'll second.
seconded by Mrs. Dillard. Is there any discussion?
I do.
Yes, ma'am.
So I've been a part of discussions with the Ohio Department of Education and Workforce for the last year regarding the total solar eclipse that is to occur on Monday, April 8th, 2024. And I think that in the essence of safety for our students and staff at the time when this is to occur, not only that, leading up to it, I think this is the correct decision, and the other districts that are in the line of totality have also chosen to take this as a calamity day, and I think that's a good decision for our district to keep our students safe. I think that the community has done a great job of planning things to educate the students leading up to the event and their families, and so they can take advantage of those educational opportunities prior to, but also then on the day of potentially be with their families and not only view safely, but safely at their homes. So
I agree.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
Great STEM focus.
I wanna check something really quick.
And if anyone's looking for some great curriculum that's available, I know the library has some available things, as well as on the Ohio Department of Education and Workforce. If you just even type in solar eclipse curriculum online, there's all kinds of free opportunities for students and their families to learn more about the solar eclipse, how to view safely, and then some activities that they can do at home that day as well.
That's awesome.
Okay, yeah, I don't see it. My brain is mixing all the days up, so I thought we'd already approved it anyway, so never mind. Too many things in my brain. Okay,
Was that McMurray and Dillard?
yes, it was.
Thank you. Are we ready for a vote?
Yes,
Oh,
yes, we
sorry.
are. Sorry.
McMurray,
Yes.
Dillard,
Yes.
Drum,
Yes.
Maines,
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
All right, motion passes. Next is going to be library trustee appointment. A motion to appoint
Lisa.
Lisa Smith Richards to fill the trustee seat that will be vacated on February 29th, 2024 on the Tipp City Library Board of Trustees. The term will run from March 1st of 2024 through December 31st of 2026.
I'll make the motion.
Moved by Mr. Maines.
I'll second.
Oh, okay, good. Mrs. Dillard will second it. Is there any discussion?
I just think that it's the greatest appointment ever.
Yes. Yay. All right.
We will need somebody for the March 14th.
Yes,
to be
so-
there. So you see, one person here too.
Well, if it's
That's
at 4:15, I can't go.
It's not, it's
6:30.
6:30, would you,
On the
do
14th.
you wanna go?
Sure.
Is that
I'll go.
okay, Ange?
Absolutely.
Okay, so Cindy, you can go ahead and go to that, thing too, unless Kyle, Rick, did you want it?
I want it. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, I'm good.
Okay, so let's, well, I'm gonna make an amendment to the motion, so it's all done at once, or do we need to make one? Okay, just kidding. Cindy will just be there. Full day for you, Cindy.
That's all right. I like stuff at night.
There you go. All right, so we're ready for the original vote whenever you're ready.
Maines,
Yes.
Dillard,
Yes?
Drum,
Yes,
McMurray,
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
the motion passes. Okay, next, our upcoming meetings. The next work session will occur on March 5th, 2024 at the Board of Education, beginning at 6 p.m. And our next regular Board of Education meeting will occur on March 19th, 2024 at LT Ball School at 6 p.m. At this time, I will take a motion to adjourn the meeting.
A motion.
Moved by Mrs. McMurray. I will second it.
McMurray,
Yes.
Drum,
Yes.
Dillard,
Yes?
Maines,
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
All right, the time is now 8:23 p.m. on February 20th, and the meeting is adjourned.
Good job, boys.
Okay,